Hey, welcome to the Gaming Bench. Today I'm building an old gambling game called Glückshaus. It's a super simple dice throwing game. If you want to know more about the rules, history, and strategy of the game, I have another video that goes into depth in that. I'll link that in the description. Now, personally, I find Glückshaus kind of boring, but the game was popular for hundreds of years, so what do I know? That all said, there's some really beautiful boards that have been constructed in the past, so let's see what we can build. Got this piece of weenge that I want to use as the base of the board. I've already cut it to roughly what the final dimensions will be. And then my plan is to use this maple as an inlay for the different squares of the board. This will be the pig, this will be the crown, this will be the wedding. So I'm going to use my router to route out holes for all the inlay, put those in there, and then decorate the different pieces with either the symbols or the numbers. Have this all set up. I have a fence set up along the one side, so I should be able to just drop in my router and run it down along the straight edge of this, the right side of this center line. So, better try. All right. That looks pretty legit. My plan is to cut all the straight edges, then I can go in and hog out the rest of it. I still have to figure out how I want to deal with the corners. Obviously, a router isn't going to cut a nice straight corner, so either I sand the corners of these maple inserts to match the curve of the router, or I square off the corners with a chisel. Not sure what will look best yet. All right, now I'm going to reset the fence and do the other side. Partway through the process, I remember that I have these big plastic right angles. So what I started to do was clamp down the right angle, and that allows me to knock out two sides of the square at the same time and hog out the rest of the material, hopefully with a little more accuracy. So this has really speeded things up and made it easier. I've been working on this for a couple hours, and it's a mess. I'm not happy at all with the way it's turning out. So I think I'm going to run the whole thing through the planer, knock all this off, and come up with a better plan. Okay, here's the solution I came up with. I built a jig. It's in two parts. So this inner frame I can center on the square that I want to cut out to make sure that it's aligned right. Clamp down the outer frame, remove this, and this outer frame will be the guide to run the router on to make hopefully a perfect square. I thought about doing something like this before I started, and for some reason I convinced myself that it would be easier just to use a straight edge, which clearly was not the case. So let's give this a try. All right, that worked pretty well. Now, I just need to repeat it 10 more times. That worked really well. I was able to cut the outlines of all the shapes. The only problem I encountered is the bit worked its way loose and cut the whole way through the board right here. So I'll drill that out and put a plug into it. Now all that's left for this part is to take the router and carefully cut out all the waste on the inside, and then I can move on to the inlay. All right. Other than the aforementioned hole that goes through the whole board, it was pretty decent. Pretty happy with that. I cut these blocks down a little bit to make them a little thinner. These are 1/4 inch deep holes, and so these are slightly thicker than 1/4 inch. Because I'm keeping the rounded corners from the router, there's still going to be a fair amount of shaping and sanding I need to do to get these things to fit. And even though I used a jig, these are far from perfect. So a lot of sanding in my near future. So it's pretty fiddly to get these perfectly in there, but it looks pretty good once I got it. So I just need to be careful. I don't want to jam it in the whole way because then I won't be able to get it out. And I need to number these so that I don't forget what goes where. All right, 1 down, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9 to go. All right, that was pretty fiddly, but it really didn't take as long as I thought it would. I think I've been fiddling with this for about an hour and a half. This last one was the hardest, and there's a pretty sizable gap because I certainly did not cut this straight. So I let this glue dry overnight. Usually when it comes to wood glue, I'm good with about an hour. I think that gives you a pretty strong bond. But my next step is to send this thing through my planer, and I wanted to make sure that the glue was fully cured. Because if I'm being honest, I'm a little afraid of my planer. It once took a big chunk out of an oak board I was trying to plane down, and ever since then I've been really nervous about sending things through, because if it takes a big chunk out of this, I'm really kind of screwed. But I recently cleaned it and it seems to be working fine, so let's send it through and see what happens. So that actually worked a treat. I didn't expect that. I thought I would have some tear out or some other problems. I mean, I put it through on a sled, so I'm sure that helped. So now I still have some gaps around the inlay where I'm debating if I try to fill that in or not. I think I'm going to leave it be because I'm not going to be able to match the grain of this weenge because it's really pronounced. So next step are I need to number these, put a lucky pig, a chalice, and a crown on these. And I'm going to use my wood burner to do that. I've learned from experience that you want a fan going while you do this. I have a fan over here. Otherwise, the smoke gets in your eyes. All right, let's get to it. All right, that is all of the letters and symbols wood burned in. I'm going to give this a light sanding to get rid of some of the pencil lines. Before I finish this up, I need to patch that hole on the back. I just cut a tiny sliver of the weenge, and I'm just gonna use a box cutter to try to cut it size. All right, that's not bad. I think as long as you don't go looking for it, you're not really going to see it. And that's my Glückshaus board done. Turned out pretty good. I'm happy with it, even though I don't find the game itself that great. It was a fun little project. I learned some stuff. So as a reminder, if you want to learn more about the rules, history, and strategy of Glückshaus, I have a video that goes into depth in that. That's linked in the description below. And as always, if this is the kind of content that you enjoy, please subscribe. I put out new videos the second and fourth Thursday of every month. So until then, I'll see you next time on The Gaming Bench.